Hey, do you want to win a PS5 with Madden NFL 21 and NBA 2K21? We'll be announcing the winner December 28th, so be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and watch the video all the way until the end to enter the giveaway. Thanks to his father, LaMelo Ball will have all the eyes of the NBA whirled on him when he suits up for the first time with the Charlotte Hornets this season. LeVar Ball has made a name for himself as a brash father of 3 talented basketball players, further increasing the microscope on all of them in the process. While Lonzo has finally found his footing in his 3rd year in the league, a lot is being expected out of LaMelo immediately this season. Most of the draft experts said he was the best player in the 2020 class despite him falling to the Hornets at number 3. Ball has all the skills to be a successful NBA player, but here are a few reasons why LaMelo Ball might not be around the NBA for very long. The most obvious reason is his father and the distraction he will potentially cause for LaMelo in Charlotte. LeVar has already been very vocal about how well he would do against Hornets owner Michael Jordan in a game of one-on-one, which might create some awkward moments. Although LeVar has taken a backseat over the last 2 years, everything he says will be newsworthy in some capacity, and it'll be interesting to see how the Hornets handle Ball potentially criticizing the way Charlotte is using his son. LeVar's ego got the Chino Hills High basketball coach fired because of a disagreement in who deserved credit for the team's success. He was openly critical of Luke Walton during Lonzo's rookie season with the Lakers, and those opinions won't magically go away. LaMelo will likely not be the star attraction on the Hornets this season as he acclimates to the NBA with just a month's notice between the draft and the opening game of the season. Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier are 2 very talented players who will likely take on more of the load, and I'm very curious to see how LeVar reacts to that. More importantly, it is vital that LaMelo handles the situation correctly in the locker room and doesn't rub his teammates the wrong way. LeVar's comments are going to be controversial, and they're going to ruffle feathers behind the scenes in Charlotte. It's important that LaMelo handles the situation correctly and continues to build trust with his teammates. If LaMelo becomes a problem for the team chemistry, you best believe teams are going to stay very far away from him. However, LeVar did behave himself when it came to Lonzo's career after that rookie season, so what on-court issues could prevent LaMelo from sticking around in the league? The simple answer is his funky shot mechanics and poor shooting percentage. Yes, it was a small sample size of 12 games in Australia, but LaMelo shot just 37.5% from the field, including 25% from three-point range, while averaging 16.7 shots and 6.7 three-pointers per game. People complain about Ben Simmons' lack of three-point shooting, so what will they say about someone who will shoot but isn't very efficient? Players need to be able to shoot jump shots in the modern-day NBA, and Ball is just not a good shooter right now. Lonzo had a similarly weird-looking shot, and his three-point shooting percentage actually dropped from a very good 41.2% in his only season at UCLA to a respectable 37.5% this past season for the Pelicans. It has taken Lonzo 3 full seasons to raise his three-point shooting percentage that high after shooting below 33% in both of his first 2 seasons in the league. LaMelo is already coming into this situation as a worse shooter, so it's unlikely his percentages will jump significantly against much tougher competition. It's unclear how much of his shooting percentage is a result of his two-handed release, but the unorthodox approach clearly isn't helping him shoot better. He has an awkward hand placement that affects his release point, keeping it lower than a typical shot. At 6'7", it might not be a huge issue, but the size in the NBA might make it more difficult for him to get off his shot against good defense. CBS Sports' Kyle Boone wrote this in his analysis of Ball's skills. He essentially launches from his face and his right elbow is slightly flared out. And with where his release is, there will be concern about him being able to get his shot off consistently with NBA defenders. The lower it is, the theory goes, the less time it takes a defender to recover and contest, and thus the more likely it is you'll have troubles getting your shot off. The shooting was a big enough concern that it might be the reason he ended up slipping to the Hornets at number 3. One person told Cleveland.com's Chris Fedor that they believed Ball's shot was broken, and many draft experts questioned Ball's shot selection in Australia as another cause of his low shooting percentage. As Boone wrote in his evaluation, sometimes he'll lean into running floaters from just inside the arc completely off balance, or launch fadeaways with a hand in his face. Just careless or unwise shots that might fit in a game of 21 in the backyard but aren't great for professional basketball. His lack of strength seems to affect him too, as he either leans out from contact or tries Herculean circus shots to navigate around it. LaMelo defended his shot selection on ESPN before the draft, telling Mike Schmitz, "You know, the coaches believe in me. Coach says pretty much, you feel like you can make it, shoot it. And you know, in practice I make these and they know I practice this shot. So it's not like I'm not practicing shooting them. That would be a different story. I understand that if I don't practice none of that and then shoot it, that would be, wrong." All of these seem correctable, but how long will it take for LaMelo to unlearn these poor habits? There wasn't a lot of time between the draft and the start of the season, and who knows what sort of gap there will be between the end of the 2020-21 season and the start of the 2021-22. In a league so focused on offense and shooting, how will a point guard who doesn't shoot the ball well perform? Can Charlotte stay patient with LaMelo if it takes 3 or 4 years for him to adjust and be an efficient NBA player? LaMelo plays with the sort of arrogance and confidence that every player needs, but sometimes that goes too far and it leads to some really bad mistakes. The common theme among scouts is that when Ball is locked in, he is a very good playmaker and good enough defender to play in the NBA. But those lapses in focus are also very evident on film, and could be a reason he ends up out of the league quickly. Some scouts even express concern that Ball seems like he doesn't care about defense sometimes, and that he also quit on plays in the past after getting beat. It's even more than his attitude on defense, it's also poor mechanics. His footwork and positioning are dreadful and make it much harder for him to stay in front of the player he is guarding. Back in January, the Athletic's Sam Vecenie didn't hold back any punches when he wrote about Ball's defense. He said, "It's disastrously bad in sports while also providing glimmers of hope. On the ball, he's just genuinely terrible right now. He has really awful mechanics in regard to his defensive stance, often standing straight up and down. He gets blown by at the point of attack with relative ease despite being bigger and longer than most guys because of that. He's the king of going for the recovery swipe where he tries to poke the ball free after a guy gets past him. His mechanics are also terrible when closing out on shooters. He hasn't mastered taking shorter steps out while staying in his stance, as he'll often get hit with the attempted blocked shot blow by blow, or closes out too short and gets hit with a jumper in his face. Just in general, he tries to take the easiest way out possible on defense while also trying to make a play. Ball is able to compensate for that in some respect with his athleticism and length, taking chances on creating turnovers when he sees the opportunity to jump into passing lanes. His instincts are excellent on those reads, which is why he led the Australian League with 1.6 steals per game. But when he doesn't get those deflections and steals, he's a major defensive liability. If the guards in the Australian League were eating his lunch, what will the excellent point guards just in the Eastern Conference alone do to him? If teams can't trust him to close out games, it will damage his value in the league and might mean an early exit for an extremely talented player. It's odd to question the maturity of a 19-year-old who has played professionally in Lithuania and Australia and has played in higher age brackets most of his life. But I can't help wondering how well LaMelo will do in the NBA over the next few years. LaMelo was the best player on his team almost everywhere he played, even when he was teammates with Lonzo on AAU and high school teams. How will he react to not being the focal point and not being the best player on a team? How will he handle the struggles that come from such a quick transition into the best basketball league on the planet? This is a legitimate concern for many NBA teams about Ball because he really hasn't faced much adversity in his basketball career. LaMelo has scripted so much of his life to highlight his greatness over the last 5 years to simply get to this point. Yet he hasn't necessarily had to face any adversity head on, and he's sort of run away from problems. He left Chino Hills because of a disagreement between his family and the new coach. He left Lithuania early when his father criticized the coach of the team. The Big Baller brand was basically running away because LaMelo wasn't receiving enough playing time. He played in a league his father created to give him more opportunities to showcase himself. Then he left Australia in January after suffering a foot injury so he could prepare for the draft. There is no doubt that bad things will happen to Ball in his shortened NBA season, and it will be interesting to see how he handles it. How will Ball handle it if he's benched in the closing minutes of a game because of his defensive lapses? How will he handle those slumps that almost every player has early in their careers? There might be other obstacles along the way that we don't know about yet, but they will certainly challenge LaMelo's maturity. If he doesn't handle those situations the right way, he might be better suited dominating in Europe than being an above-average NBA player. One area of concern that very few people seem to be mentioning are the injuries that derailed his season in both Lithuania and Australia. He missed a month of exhibition games in Lithuania due to a leg injury, then his season ended early in Australia when he hurt his foot. It's not necessarily an indicator of how injury prone he is, but he's played 18 professional games in his career and he's gotten injured twice. That is something to watch over the next few years as his body continues to develop and finish growing. The easiest way to ruin a promising career is injuries, and Ball has not been lucky enough to avoid the bug in his professional career. What do you think about LaMelo Ball's future in the NBA? Will he live up to the hype, or will one of these potential pitfalls ultimately doom his career in America? Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.